Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mental Toughness and Body Show. Today, we're diving into the world of real estate and exploring what it takes to build a thriving career as a buyer's agent. In this ever-changing market with countless opportunities and challenges, I find that many people find themselves overwhelmed by complexity instead of focusing on solutions. But my guest today, Michelle Costin, is here to show us how to rise above the noise, solve the problems like a pro. It doesn't matter whether you're curious about property, buying, business success, or simply want to sharpen your skills. You're going to love what Michelle has to say. So, Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, Michelle, maybe to start off with, obviously we're based here in Australia. I'm not sure whether it's called the same thing. So, in the other sides of the world, like a big portion of my listeners are based in the US. But maybe you could just explain perhaps the difference between what's a real estate agent versus a buyer's agent? What's that difference, and why did you choose to go down the route of a buyer's agent?
Look, firstly, is that thank you for having me on the show. The first thing that I wanted to do is wanted to help people. So that's whether investing, buying their own property, and expanding their portfolio. So my focus was helping people, and sales agent, obviously, as you know, widely known as they represent the vendors.
Yeah.
And they will go out there and sell the property and get as much money as they can. Whereas the buyer's agent, we represent the buyers. So we make sure that they get the best value, make sure that they're buying the right property for their own portfolio.
So are there, because I've never used one myself, I mean, the only properties I've bought are the ones that I've lived in because I invest, like in shares and that kind of thing rather than property because I just I didn't get raised in that environment, unfortunately, about real estate. And, my parents took forever to pay their home off and stuff. I just didn't understand it. They didn't have a good money mindset. So I had to learn it all myself. And it was more around shares and the flexibility of all that and so forth. Is there a big market for people looking to use a buyer's agent? Because are we talking about the difference of, well, I'll go out and find it myself, or I hire someone like you to say, this is what I'm looking for, go find it for me?
Yeah, so what we basically do is we have the qualifying, we qualify our clients. We make sure that obviously we have, we can contribute and add value to your portfolio. So most of our buyers, our clients are from overseas, expats, also
Okay.
interstates, and also people that, time poor and just don't have the time to obviously look for a property. So we basically get the brief, and then wherever you want to be, if you have a certain street that you want to live in, if you know what your budgets are, and then we go and prospect for our clients.
So is it, you mentioned there a couple of times, portfolio. So are you mainly working with investors, or is it people for like private residents as well, or it's a combination?
Combination. So I work with residential investment and also with developers as well.
So you're based in Brisbane, which is like north of Australia for those on the other side of the world. Do you only work in Queensland, or do you work around Australia, or how does that work?
No, so we only work in Queensland. So basically what we're covering is Brisbane, Gold Coast, and in the north side. We can go all the way to Sunshine Coast depending on what the brief is. But basically we sort of, are in Brisbane to Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast.
What would be, obviously without revealing any confidential information, but what would be a typical brief that you would get from somebody that's I don't know, say it's okay, let's use me as an example, perhaps. I'm wanting to move to the Gold Coast, say. What information would you want off me to be able to go and source something?
Sure. So firstly, we will ask you your requirements, obviously. So first thing that we ask is make sure that you have a finance approved already, because there's no point going out there. We have no idea what your approval is.
So no finance, I'm paying cash.
Even better. So, we ask you what your budget is, your requirements, as in how many bedroom do you need, how many bathroom, how many carport, do you need a pool, where do you want to be relocated? Do you want to be, in radius of closer to the beach, anything closer to the school?
Mhm.
Most of our clients will, if they have kids, they want to be in the catchment area of where the school they want to send their kids. So
Yeah.
that's very important. And obviously childcare, so any of the requirements you'll need.
Yeah. Okay. All
Mm.
right. Sweet. Tell me about, I think you mentioned it. I don't know whether you mentioned it before or whether I've been talking to a bunch of people about real estate lately, off-market deals, right?
Yes.
How, because obviously we can get, oh, that's right. You mentioned about maybe it was when before we hit record. Um, so with an off-market deal, obviously they're the best ones because you're going to get them cheaper and so forth. How do you go about sourcing those?
So we make a lot of relationship with the agents. So we will
As
get
in
the
like real estate
real
agents?
estate agent, the selling agent. So we will get the first opportunity to get those off-market lists. And then based on our clients' requirements on the brief, then we, obviously we go and make sure that it's the right one and we get the opportunity to inspect it first privately.
So obviously this is like it really not that any business isn't like this, but particularly for you, it's very much a success business built on building those relationships
Correct.
with the vendors, also with the buyers. What's the pro? Because I imagine particularly at the Gold Coast, for those or Brisbane Gold Coast up that side of the East Coast in Australia, it's so hot right now. Like certainly
Olympics?
I'm in
Okay.
Melbourne, and during COVID, I think the numbers were because we were locked down for so long here. It was something like 30,000 people from Victoria moved up to the Gold Coast, and
Correct.
then there's a bunch moving back now because they can't handle the climate and everything. But um, um, what I was going to say is. No, I've lost my train of thought. I can hear the cat meowing in the back. Our relationships. So, how do you go about building those relationships? Because there's so many agents up there. So,
Mm.
how do you stand out in terms of, yeah, Michelle's the one that I want to deal with?
So most of the time, so what I do is, like, obviously when I get the brief, I contact my agents that is in my contacts. Firstly is I introduce myself. So, like, the majority of what we do is obviously talking to people. So pick
Mm.
up the phone, very simple, pick up the phone and give the agent a call. And if we wanted to go and really stand out, then you go to their open homes. Obviously, show your face and introduce yourself, because seller's agent and buyer's agent, we always meet a lot of people. And for us, for me personally, actually, is that I will remember you if I met you in person. Emails, text message doesn't make much difference. But if you go and introduce yourself in person, then you're more likely to be, oh, actually, if I'm looking for a buyer's agent, I'll think of Michelle, and 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 you will get more connection that way. And most of our day is, we go out at networking events, and and connect with all of those selling agents.
So I guess it also comes down to people will sum you up in like the first 3 seconds, like bang, is this somebody I want to work with? So obviously, the professional presentation, I suppose the energy as well that you
Correct.
have in building that relationship, because you really need to stand out, don't you? From how are you going to deal with like you versus me? Like what's the difference there? Some people, I guess, will maybe want to work more with a woman than they would with a man. The way that some people present versus the way that other people present. So you really can't leave anything to chance there, can you?
No. And, as you know, real estate is very male dominant industry. So as a female, you really have to stand out. But, for me is like I haven't really, have much trouble with anyone in the industry. So I've been pretty lucky. But yeah, as I say, first impression is always the best way to, obviously introduce yourself. So I always go and, introduce myself to anyone that I want to work with.
With well, I'll say, ask this question first. Do you find, is there a big difference between, say, Brisbane and Gold Coast? Obviously, we've got more sand and higher buildings and all that kind of stuff on the Gold Coast. But in terms of you trying to place people, are people specifically like, nah, it's got to be the Gold Coast for, whatever reason?
Look, I think different people have different, requirements and brief. I'm working with the clients at the moment, which is the first home buyers in the Gold Coast. I'm also working with people in Brisbane for investors investing property because obviously the Olympics is coming and everybody wants to obviously invest in Brisbane. Likewise in the Gold Coast. Gold Coast is always the property market there is growing like rapidly. And even I don't know if you are very aware of Ipswich Way. Before it's like a lot of people don't really want to go that far, but then now there's even there's a lot of houses there that is like the cost is growing rapidly in that area. So yeah.
So what's the expectation with the Olympics? That's what, 2032, isn't it? So it's still
Right.
some way off.
Mm.
So I imagine though that obviously there will be a lot of demand for property and rentals and all that kind of stuff around the Olympics, but then it just stops and goes away. So is it a little bit like, I don't know, trying to sell your pumpkins after Halloween when the peaks at Halloween and then it drops off. So we're going to see a dramatic decline in property prices after the Olympics.
Look, I don't, obviously no one can predict that far. I believe that, the Olympics are obviously driving the property market high and also the population growth with people that are coming in internationally, students, for example, and people that want to migrate here in Australia. So particularly in Brisbane. So I think, no one can predict that far, right? So, we just have to obviously be positive and and hold on to those property as much as we can.
So just reflecting on, I like to dig into people's mindset and so forth. What would you say is your greatest strength?
My greatest strength would be meeting people. I think I'm really good at face-to-face meeting and negotiations. So that's probably what my biggest strength and being positive around people as well.
Okay, nice. And let's go a little bit dark. What about the weakness side of things? What's your greatest weakness or
My
your
greatest
kryptonite?
weakness, what's my greatest weakness? Probably, you know what? I don't think I have one. I think we probably all have one, right? But I'd say probably like being consistent with maybe going to the gym. That's probably my weakness.
Oh, you're out. What? What are you talking about?
But going to the gym, but I do a lot of workout at home. So I have a sauna at home and I do a lot of workout at home. As much as I want to be, out in the gym and meeting other people, I think I manage my time very well with, working out at home and managing my time that way.
You've lost me, Michelle, now. Oh, I'm out. This interview is over. Uh, um, yeah, sweet. Um, So what would you say if somebody's pitching you, like a deal, whether it's like a real estate agent, seller, whatever, what would you say is your biggest pet peeve when people are trying to pitch you something?
Probably when they want to try and sell you something that doesn't even add up.
What example? What was your
Example would be, people trying to tell you, uh, probably something about, how can I say this? Just people would want to try and sell you something that isn't actually true. And then when you dig more deeper, it's actually, it's not true, or they giving you some different figures. I think that the numbers will obviously, say everything about your pitch. So, especially in business, as you know.
Yeah, right. Tell me about, I think we can, like, if I reflect on my own personal journey, probably where I've learned the most is from, the stuff ups, basically, the failures and so forth in
Of
business
course.
and stuff. What would be something that you've, like, if you could give us an example maybe of a failure that you've learnt from and how it's helped you grow?
Probably one of the biggest learning I've learned in the last 12 months actually is trusting people so easily.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
As
and
in
not doing
people,
your
you've
research.
trusted somebody and they've taken you for a ride kind of thing.
Correct.
Right, right. So what have you learned from that?
I've learned a lot of so I'm really trusting with everybody I met. I always, don't judge the book by its cover all the
Yeah.
time for me. But I think I realized that it's in business world, you really need to, take a little bit of a step back and actually, get to know the person before you deal with them. That's probably the biggest learning for me. I've learned in the last 12 months, and that's quite of a it's a very short experience and short time frame to be able to learn that very quickly.
So how do you do, like in practical terms, like say you and I are negotiating a deal or something in the work that you're doing? Like I think about the relationships that I've got where, I trust people with, my kids, the keys to the house, that kind of stuff. That takes years and years, well, probably over a decade for me to get to that. And what you're doing, like if we're negotiating right now, it's like you've got to build, or I'll say it's not necessarily building the trust, but it's probably more you doing
Rapport.
the due diligence
Yes.
very quickly because this deal could happen within a matter of minutes, hours, whatever. It's like, am I going to do it? Whatever. So maybe my question here is around your due diligence. What is the shortest amount of time for you to do your due diligence so that you know that, yeah, Rob's giving me the numbers aren't stacking up, they are right, whatever. I guess sometimes you need to get like a building inspection done, or whether it's subject to soil test or something like that if you're doing development. How did maybe just walk us through some of that process?
So as far as obviously property goes, we before we so for example, I deal with a developer. So we always make sure that we do our DD with, making sure that it's not a flood area, make sure that we can, depending on the zoning they're looking for, make sure that we do all that research. Make sure that there's no problem with any council. And as far as the residential or investment property, we always make sure that we have a building and pest before we even, we obviously put an alpha, do our, detailed check with the property before we even sign any contracts. So, and obviously that's what we do for our clients with all of the property that we purchase for them.
Now, obviously, a big problem up there, which I guess you said you're working with a lot of expats and stuff, and they may not realize this, but there's a lot of areas in Queensland that flood.
Mm.
So making sure that you're doing your due diligence in that space as well, because you could think, man, this is a great deal, but it's right in the middle of a flood zone. You're just buying it when there's no water there.
Correct. Yeah. And so most of our, clients are obviously, as you say, that are expats or even interstate people, they wouldn't know how to check those information, but we have obviously tools and software that we can check those information. And that's one of the value that we add for our clients.
Yeah, right. Can you tell us about some of those tools that you do use so that we can get a bit of an idea as to, because you can say, oh, well, I'm just Googling things, but I know that there are some specific like real estate tools and so forth that just make things so much easier for you. Do you have access to some and how AI is starting to play a role maybe in some of this stuff?
Look, I wish AI can help. There's few things that AI can help you with, a few things that you can do, but as far as those software or search engines that you can use, most of the council, obviously Brisbane City Council, Gold Coast City Council, you can check all of those things. Developers, there's a lot of other software that they use also specifically for zoning. Make sure that there's no koala reserve. There's just other
Koala reserve. Okay, there's a new one.
so yeah, so make sure that you do all those research, and there's so many software that you can use just to obviously make sure that you cover everything that you need to look for.
Yeah, well, I guess I mean traditionally you'd have to drive around and like speak to a lot more agents, I suppose, to find out, well, is this a property I want to work on? But we can do so much from the desk now just by using those tools, I imagine.
Yes.
Can you maybe give us a bit of an insight because people think, well, what's a typical day maybe look like for you? Clearly, we know you're not going to the gym. So, what would you say a typical day looks like?
Okay, no, don't hate me for this, but no.
Oh, what is it getting worse? Oh, don't make me walk out.
No. So my typical day, I actually have a toy cavoodle. So I do take him for a walk every day.
You have what?
Morning toy cavoodle. So like
Oh,
little.
okay.
So I take him for a walk during the morning and night. I do my meditation in the morning before I start my day. I have my cold showers, and then yeah, so I go to the gym. And not the gym, I
No,
work
you
out at
don't.
home. I work up at home in my gym at least 3 times a week. So
Yeah.
and I go into my sauna, and I think one of the biggest thing that I do every day is cold showers. It makes such a big difference.
What do they do to you? I can't do them
Why
myself.
not?
Why? Because I hate cold.
Look, I think I go to the cold plunge as well. But so I think, start your day with, start yourself with taking cold showers. It will, it gives you a lot of, you
It
know,
wakes you up, scares the
wakes
crap
you
out
up,
of you.
definitely wakes you up.
Yeah.
Especially in Queensland at the moment, it's really, really, really hot.
Yeah.
So cold showers really do you a favor. So definitely, I recommend everybody to.
Nah, I'm not doing it. Sorry. Don't
You'll be
believe
different.
you.
You'll be a different person.
Yeah, I'll be shivering all day. Michelle, what would you say? What advice would you give somebody that is, say, wanting to get into real estate? They're toiling between real estate buyer's agent and so forth. What would be the advice that? Well, I suppose I didn't ask you up front what was being in real estate in a capacity of buyer's agent or real estate agent. Was that something that you like? That's what you've always aspired to, or like was it in your family? Like what drove? Because I wish I had people around me that were in property when I was like your age and younger, because I'd probably be a lot further ahead. Not that I'm not happy where I am, but I'd be a lot further ahead. So maybe let's start with that. Why did you go into real estate? Did you just think it was, okay, this is a good way to become wealthy faster than other strategies, or was it something else?
Look, I bought my first property when I was 18. I came here when I was 18 in Australia, so I was originally from the Philippines. So property investing in the Philippines isn't really a huge thing. It's probably more like work abroad or like study hard in university and get a better job. And that's how we obviously see success. Whereas when I arrived in Australia, for me was, work hard, invest in something. And that's when I started property investing. And then, I was I was married to a builder. So we did house and land packages.
Mhm.
And then when I say was married, so 7 years ago we separated, and that's when I met. Look, I was an accountant, in-house accountant too. So after taking some break, probably 2 years break, I thought to myself, you know what, I want to do something different. I want to start, using my real estate license after I separated. And that's when I come back and, I really wanted to help people. And that's when, look, like 10 years ago, buyer's agent didn't even exist in Australia, really. They
Okay.
were, but no one really knows about them. And yeah, so I thought myself, one of the greatest, I guess, superpower for me is like helping people. So that's when I said, okay, you know what? I want to be a buyer's agent. I want to help people with their investment portfolio, find the right, house for them to live in with their family. And that's where really, I'm like, you know what? This is the perfect career for me, career change.
And so now if somebody is thinking about, oh yeah, I'd really like to get into this, what's a logical first step for them? Like I can imagine if you could have, I suppose, shadow somebody and do that sort of stuff so you can see, okay, is this something for me? I mean, I have people that like in health and fitness, anyone that wants to get into that, I'm always encourage them, hey, come and spend a day, a week with me. I always take on work experience kids and stuff because it is far different to what they think. So yeah, somebody sitting on on the fence and they'd like to get into something like this, what would be the best first step for them?
I think you hit it in the nail. I think the first thing I would suggest, especially when you're starting and you're young and you don't really know what to do, I think shadowing a real estate agent. So I'll give a week to you without any payment, obviously, and just really soak in like just be a sponge,
Yeah.
learn every rope, how to deal with people, and do anything that you need to do. Like even if you think that okay, they just like small job that you can do, going to an inspection, going to a home, greeting people for an inspection, house inspection. I think that's a great way to learning everything, and always you know search do your research about the agents, and then find that person that you want to be, and shadow them for a week or two, a month, and I think that's the best way to learn the ropes in real estate.
Yeah, sounds like a solid plan. So Michelle, if people would like to get, obviously we can see your name and the business and everything on the screen here, but before we started recording, you said you do something a little bit different in the way that you work with your clients to other people. So could you maybe tell us a little bit about what it is that you do in terms of your fee setup and that kind of stuff and how people can get in touch with you?
Look, we are obviously everybody, all the agents now are all in social media. So you can find us in Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So what we do in our fees is, so we charge differently to the selling agent. We don't charge retainers fee. Some buyer's agent charge, an upfront fee, and then they obviously deduct that from the settlement. But what we do is we do an exclusive 15 weeks agreement with the residential or, owners, occupiers, or investors for 15 weeks. And we don't charge any retainers, and we only get paid at settlement. And if in 15 weeks that's over, we haven't found you anything, then you don't pay us anything. And we focus a lot adding value with the clients for the off markets property. And some buyers agent charge, extra, we'll say 20 grand for finding them a off market. But for us, we don't do that. We focus on off market properties, and that's how we get paid, and we get paid at settlement. And obviously we help with negotiation, inspection, make sure that we do all the DDs, and yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I'm going to put your contact details in the description below this podcast so that people can reach out if you want to have a buyer's agent do all the hard work for you in Queensland, but specifically Brisbane, Gold Coast, up that side. Thank
Where
you
the
for
sun is shining.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Not all the time, though. Um, Michelle, thank you so much. I'm going to give you the closing word in a moment. But thanks so much for being on the show today, adding value to the audience. Final question for you. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Always take the high road.
Sweet. All right. Thanks, Michelle.